Hey up guys, S-Man back at it again with a brand new review of Pokemon Horizons. Now, let's just get right into this episode because this episode, whoo boy, was something. Picking up right where last week left off, Briar contacts the Rising Volt Tacklers to meet her in Paldea's Great Crater. So, what's this episode about? It's basically the Rising Volt Tacklers getting permission to enter Gala's Great Crater. Because, obviously, unless you're the protagonist of Scarlet and Violet, you're not allowed to just wander in there. Or, as we see later on, you gotta sneak in there if you're going in there. Episode starts off with the Rising Volt Tacklers gang having a meeting with Rika, introducing themselves as the Rising Volt Tacklers, whose goal is to explore the Great Paldean Crater. And we get a funny joke where Liko is intimidated by Rika's sexy secretary persona. But she takes off the glasses and just begins to chill out. And Penny's there, and the rest of the Elite Four. They're all just chilling in this episode. But yeah, the Rising Volt Tacklers make a demand of Geeta to basically allow them into Area Zero because they are hunting for Entei of the Great Heroes, which, because Geeta is the champion, they had previously informed Geeta on what their basically mission in Paldea was. We've also gotten a previous episode where Freed met with Geeta, Clavel, and along with all the kids, where he introduces them to the whole Lucius plot because they can be trusted, and the secret of Terrapagos. And this is also where all the Elite Four learn and react, and they're like, wow, that's really interesting that these kids like just fought an Entei. But Geeta's not impressed and says in order to let the kids go into Area Zero, they need to battle her in order to earn her trust, to know that they'll be safe in Area Zero. Even though they just said they fought and held their own against an Entei. But, yeah. That's where this episode is. A triple battle of the starters versus Geeta's Ace, Glimora, and 2 Glimmet. Now, when I first saw people talking about this episode, I didn't know the Glimmet were involved in the episode. So I genuinely thought this was a 3-on-1 fight. My only really complaint here is, if Geeta was going all out, like she introduced the battle with, hey, I'm Geeta, I'm about to go all out, I'm the top champion for a reason. She sent out 2 Glimmet. I genuinely think it would have been way cooler if we see her use an Armarouge and a Saraledge. And it's the knight guarding her mighty, her ace, even though she doesn't have those in the games, which she should, because her team sucks. But also, you could have used some of her actual Pokemon from her team, even though that team sucks. I think it's interesting that she's using Glimora. As much as people say, oh, Glimora shouldn't be their ace, I feel like it fits, especially with a battle like this, because Geeta's actually introducing this battle as, hey, if you could beat my Glimora, you might be ready for the Pokemon you'll see in Area Zero, because Glimora are native to the Area Zero of the area of the region, and the kids are all shocked. But yeah. Basically, for a little bit, this episode was really good on strategy because Geeta uses these like strategies of once they all unleash their moves on Glimora, she blinds them and has her Glimmet attack them from behind, which is a very smart strategy. But the kids keep coming up with counters to that. For example, Roy uses Disarming Voice because Disarming Voice locks onto a wide range of opponents, and Free even calls this out by saying, hey, that's a really good strategy. But once that happens, it causes Glimora to be out in the open, so Dot and Liko land a hit, but there goes a toxic breeze and basically poisons all the Pokemon. So this battle basically turns into if they can take down Glimora before the poison kills their Pokemon. And I love this little like idea. And it would be like a perfect thing for the actual Geeta fight to have, because tell me why you have a Pokemon who's known for setting poison and trapping and basically being a stall as your mass Pokemon. Especially when we see in this episode, she uses like these moves, like the Marini move, which I don't really remember what it's called, that like allows it to like go into a bunker and like shoot out spikes to basically go on defense and also like do damage to them as they do close range. While she uses the light strategy with the little Glimmets, like shooting rocks at them while they're blinded by the light to deal with long range. And I gotta say, they made Geeta actually seem somewhat confident, and I say somewhat for a reason. The battle continues, and the kids continuously think of new strategies that will basically allow for them to take down Geeta. And Geeta actually counters this by doing a sack play on her two Glimmet, realizing, hey, you know who's the most super effective against my Pokemon? Crocolar and Quaxwell. So, if Glimmet uses this, I don't know what the move's called, but basically, once the Pokemon dies, it attacks and like lowers the special or the attack harshly, as they say. Like these two, this episode had a lot of like stat changes, and it's funny like when like the audience is reacting like, "Whoa, their stats just went down a lot." But yeah, she uses a sack play to lower Crocolar and Quaxwell's attacks, so basically they're useless for the rest of the fight because their attacks are going to do nothing against this tank, leaving it up to all being Liko. This is the perfect strategy if Geeta didn't terrestrialize right after like something like this happened. Basically a few minutes after she does this. But yeah. Right before the terrestrialization occurs, Liko just has like a big brain moment where she realizes, hey, I have an idea. Let's all rush in, and she makes it like they're just like, this is a stupid idea. But then at the last possible second, she says, Floragato, attack Crocolar! And it messes up Crocolar's stomping tantrum. But because of that, it misses. So then Liko like laughs and tells Roy to do it again, and they all figure out why. It's because once stomping tantrum misses once, it gets even stronger, which is what the crew learned last episode. But yeah. That hit does a lot of damage to Glamora, so Geeta decides it's time to terrestrialize. Which is, like I said, it's stupid because all the kids then terrestrialize, and Liko straight up says herself, well, now that she terrestrialized into a rock type, my grass type moves will actually do something and be super effective, plus the Terra boost. So basically, Geeta sold the battle here. But before she dies, before she loses, Quaxwell and Crocolar take a sack play and tank a Terra Blast that was going right for Floragato, knocking them both out, but Floragato still gets slightly hit, but not as much. But in the end, this only basically just powers up Liko Nor with Overgrow, and Overgrow plus Terra plus Magical Leaf one-shots Glamora. So Liko just beat a champ. And that's the main thing people are complaining about. Liko beat Geeta. She is a pushover. She is like not a good champ. Now, I'm both like okay and like upset about this. I'm okay with it because it fits the plot, but I'm upset because Geeta, a champion who in the games was like has been hated for how weak and like uneventful she is, just got taken down by our three protagonists in episode 79 of the Pokemon anime, while they still have middle stage evolution. Now, I think this would have been the perfect opportunity for Floragato to evolve, and I'm surprised it didn't, or at least learned a new move. But seeing as it didn't, I'm curious now how it is going to evolve, because if it evolved in the battle with the champion, that would have been a perfect like evolution and perfect like moment to capstone the Floragato arc, because each trainer except for maybe Dot had their Pokemon evolve in the most impactful moment of an arc. At least their aces, not the side Pokemon. Floragato evolved while fighting on the last stand against Rayquaza, and Fuecoco evolved against Roy's last stand against Liko, while Quaxley just evolved in a fight. So imagine, and especially with episode titles recently being, we might get the last encounter with Rayquaza soon, I'm gonna assume that Crocolar evolves during that fight. So we're about to basically, this would have been the perfect opportunity for Floragato to evolve, unless we get some crazy fight against like maybe Gibeon where Floragato evolves. But yeah, that's the only really thing about this battle. Besides that, I think it was a really good battle, but like the outcome kind of just like makes it battle, like especially with a lot of people, especially with Geeta's track record already being like downhill. That just like kind of throws it off a bit. But the whole Horizons cast in this battle was perfect, and Geeta was like actually coming up with a good strategy. But the problem is, when you use shitty Pokemon, you're not gonna go so far. But yeah, The Horizons crew with their strategies, like Liko stopping tantrum strategy, them bringing back the Cleavor strategy with like listening for the popping to know where Cleavor is. And I love how they straight up say, oh, let's use the Cleavor strategy to know when Geeta's going to attack when she blinds us. That's actually such a funny thing that happened. And then the whole disarming voice to hit all the targets in the air without having to like aim. But yeah, the whole battle was like, it was a 50-50. Like, some of it was good. I mean, the battle aspect was good, but the whole outcome was like, eh. But the battle outcome does get us our crew to explore Area Zero, where we get a nice little scene with Penny and Dot. I really wish we got more of this friendship. Dot, or Penny straight up complimenting Dot, and Dot getting all like bashful and saying thank you and waving goodbye to her as they enter Area Zero. It was so cute and like heartwarming. But yeah, meanwhile, Hamber assigns Onyx and Coral to enter Area Zero in order to figure out what the Rising Bull attackers are doing in there. But yeah, overall, that's really all I gotta say for these episodes. I've said most of my thoughts. It's mainly a battle. It's set up. They combined the setup episode with a really cool concept for a battle. It's just it feels weird calling Geeta the top champion and then having her go down Horizon Street. But she was a weak champion, so there we go. But overall, I'll say this episode is 8 out of 10. Really good, really nice to see how the kids have grown so much. But yeah, and I can't wait for the next episode in Area Zero. Hope you guys like this video. Subscribe for more content like this in the future. S-Man, signing off.